This is the Unawarded Black Podcast with your host, Jay Watts. While you're watching the video, comment, like, and subscribe. So let's get right into the story. This is 15-year-old Quawan Charles. And, I waited a few days before I decided to even do this because I wanted to find out more information. Because it makes no sense. But let's get to the video and then we'll come back with more information that has been released.
The calls for justice over the death of a black teenager who was found dead in a sugarcane field in rural Louisiana. Authorities there say 15-year-old Quawan Charles likely drowned, and they're treating the case as a possible homicide. We want to warn you now, some of the details may be difficult to hear. And ABC's Elwin Lopez has more.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
This morning, outrage spilling over the small town of Baldwin, Louisiana, as the death of a 15-year-old boy remains shrouded in mystery.
We believe that if he had been of a different color, that this has been taken a lot more seriously.
Quawan Bobby Charles went missing from his home October 30th. Days later, his body was found about 20 miles away in a sugarcane field in Iberia Parish.
It takes time for some of this evidence to come forward because it takes a while for toxicology to come back.
The local sheriff's department releasing new details to address public outrage, now calling it an active, ongoing homicide investigation, adding that video evidence shows Quawan alone near the area where he was later found dead. The case catching the eye of celebrities like Beyonce, paying tribute to him on her website. Over the weekend, a preliminary autopsy report listed the teen's cause of death as, quote, likely drowning. The 15-year-old's cousin says Charles's severely disfigured face tells a different story.
His face tells it all. On the left side of his face, there is like a knot. On the right side, there's like a incision.
The same coroner's report suggesting any injuries on his face happened after his death and, quote, are likely aquatic animal activity.
A person that's deceased can't talk, so you don't know his side of the story. Justice for Quawan.
In response to that preliminary autopsy report, the teen's family said in a statement that the water where he was found was ankle deep and that they believe he could not have drowned without outside influences. Now they are demanding a meeting with the sheriff no later than tomorrow. Guys?
So many people watching this story. Elwin Lopez for it.
Parents have to watch their children. I know he was 15 years old, and he probably snuck out on his own. Because from what I'm understanding, they didn't know he had went out or possibly not known who he was going out with. But in places like Louisiana or down south, it is very imperative that parents tell their children the dangers that are out there. So let's get to this first things first. We need to go through this story. So, from the image right here, you kind of get a picture of where he was picked up from to where he went to. So he went from Baldwin to Louisville, which is from Google Maps, say that's 22 miles away. So he went 22 miles away. And supposedly, from 22 miles away, he, I guess, was ready to go, possibly, and just decided to leave. So, I mean, any real parent wouldn't let a 15-year-old child, just leave their house to go home and just walk 22 miles? I mean, matter of fact, let's do this. I am going to look up Louisville right quick. And when we're going to direction it to Baldwin, Louisiana, 22 miles they have listed as a 7-hour and 11-minute walk. So that's not even feasible. Like I said, I'm going to do this step by step, so to make sense to anybody who's listening. Next, this next image is, how far was he found from this house? So we just Google mapping it again. Let's say that's 2-minute walk. Just from looking at it from the distance, that's not even a far walk. Yeah, ain't nobody finna stay on the street. You just walk. And so they found his body in this field to the right. Is the sugarcane field. And apparently he drowned. And what they're saying is ankle deep water. So for him to have drowned in this water, they said his lungs was full of mud and water, which he probably did drown out there. Bet. For him to drown out there, his head would have literally have to been pushed into this mud and water. Now, I'm not even going to show the image of him after the fact because it is disturbing. And I know they try to compare it to Emmett Till, but, I mean, even their own investigator said he drowned. It wasn't that he was beaten up. He drowned. Now, the manner of how he drowned is the real question, because they literally could have taken him, pushed his head down into this water, and waited for him to suffocate it, which would indicate how he got that mud and water inside his lungs. Because, usually, I don't think if he just drowned, let's say if he fell out right there and fell in the water, he would just have the water in there. But if you have mud and water, your head is pushed down into that mud and water. And this next image right here, this is where his body was found in the sugarcane field. So as you can see, it's not deep. Like I said, ankle deep water. So, I mean, how the sheriff just brushed it off as a black kid drowning is beyond me. But I guess, in Louisiana, when you drown, if you're not the right color, then they don't really care. And what really makes it an actual issue is when it becomes a national issue. So it brings down the eyes of the nation upon these little towns, and now scrambling to do what's right. And they said they had witness statements and all that. So, oh, well, we seen him by ourselves. They always see him by themselves. They don't ever see anything. But I guess the next part that we really have to focus on is what kind of people that we have that he was picked up by. They took him 22 miles away from his house. So that means next we will have to focus on Janet Irvin and her son. But, I don't really have the information about the son. But what we do have is information about Janet's history. Okay, lastly, we have Janet Irvin right here. And Janet Irvin in her life has been, she's 37. She has an extensive arrest record that includes drug-related charges, as well as burglary and receiving stolen property. And at one point, she had lost custody of her children because she was accused of domestic violence and neglect by the child's father. Now, usually when a father accuses the mother on it, they investigate a little bit, but they don't initially go as far as to take the child away. So that means she had to have been, I guess because of her arrest record, it just made it all plausible. But my problem is, why did the kids go back? Did the father not press the charges as he should have? They said she suffers from drug and alcohol problems. She is stealing prescription medication and money. Oh my God. She dropped the 2-year-old son on the floor, allowing the child to drink her beer. And I guess they said that she was staying in a Chestnut trailer park where he was last. Well, Charles was last seen alive. So they said many of the trailer doors are damaged, unmaintained, and just too old to be comfortable. That's what they said on here. But she stayed there with her son, Gavin, who was 17. So I don't understand, what they were saying was that Quawan was just, I guess he just left. I guess before he died, it said Quawan was sent to live with his dad in Baldwin. His mother, I'm guessing, was in Youngsville, Louisiana, which is 35 miles away from Baldwin. And Quawan went to school with Gavin in Youngsville. And they both moved, but they kept in contact. And so, like I said, for no reason, they went and picked him up. And the trailer that they stayed in was actually a rented trailer in Laurelville. But from what they saying, that Gavin claimed Quawan just up and left out and just decided he was gonna go. That was it. They didn't say he was going, but he was going. And it's too many holes in this story. Any concerned parent would be like, well, if you want to go, I can take you back home. There's no way a real parent would pick a child up, take them 22 miles away, and expect them just to go home on their own. But there will be more of this story coming up soon enough. But it's just relevant information right now, and we'll see what happens in the future. That has been my time for today. This is an Unawarded Black Podcast. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.